Up next, we have Matthew Neely. He's going to be presenting on implementing ArchiveSpace at Bodleian Libraries. Matthew is a senior archivist at the Bodleian Libraries, University of Oxford, where he has responsibility for digital curation and metadata in the archives and modern manuscript section. He's worked at the Bodleian since 2002, firstly as an archives assistant and then a project archivist. He's been in his current role since December 2015. Matthew.
Makes me feel old when people say how long I've worked at the library for, but I was very young when I started. Okay, so the Bodleian Library is the main research library of the University of Oxford, founded in 1602, so we've been collecting archives for quite a long time. And the main reason for this presentation is I just wanted to introduce ourselves to the wider community and just say hello. So hello, it's nice to meet you all. And I just want to go over kind of story of where we've come from, what we've done, and what we are planning to do next. So, yeah, there you go. So I'm not going to go over cataloguing the library for the full 400 years because we could be here for quite a while. Just we'll talk about EAD because it's been one of the reasons we've gone with ArchivesSpace. So we were a very early adopter of EAD in 1996 and published our first online catalogue in 1997. And very much the only focus of our online efforts were converting existing hard copy catalogues. Because the Bodleian's been cataloguing for so long, we've been doing this before any standards really existed, which is an EAD was seen as a very flexible standard to help us with our data. But speaking as the guy who's had to standardize that data, it's caused problems later on. And new cataloguing was not the priority when we first started using EAD, because most of our work was funded by grants, so it's been the bigger collections. And there's one interesting problem which I want to come on to later with those collections. So the online platform that we created in the late 1990s has undergone very little development work since the early 2000s, and you're about to see that, so you'll see for yourselves. It's very top-down collection focused. It's very difficult to see the connection between our collections. It's one of the reasons we're so pleased with ArchiveSpace. The user experience at the time was quite good, innovative in the late 90s, early 2000s, but now it's not what readers are really looking for our collections. And it's been reliant on a very time-consuming XML to HTML transformation process. And everything was handcrafted in XML editors like Oxygen until 2013 when we implemented Archivist Toolkit as our cataloging tool. But not everything got its way into Archivist Toolkit, so we've come from different places with our data. Okay, so online discovery basically looks like that at the moment, not for much longer. So this is not an archive web page, this is last month. So the HTML conversion progress has been quite lengthy, developed by one of our developers in the early 2000s. It's also mean some hacking for some bespoke finding aids, which ArchiveSpace has helped us to that problem. The search technology is very dated and relies on basic HTML search, Control F, and that page is actually a massive list of about 2,000 catalogs. So it's not great from a user experience. And because we've got such big collections, it's very difficult to see the links between collections, and I think that's one of the things ArchiveSpace is going to deliver for our readers very well. Although it was great at the time, innovative, but it doesn't really meet our needs anymore. But it does contain a great amount of data, some really well put together data. This is a snapshot of file level descriptions from the Oxfam archive, which is 10,000 boxes, so pretty big. Yeah, I'm just I think the scale of the data we've been working with is one of the challenges we've had to overcome the last few years. And this is one of those legacy things. So the index tag in EAD, I think we might be responsible for it. I'm going to hold my hands up. It's not my favorite tag. So the back of the book index, because we focused on retrospective conversion early on, we have about 70 catalogues out of thousands. It's not a huge number, but they are some of our big, important collections. So this is from the archive of Clement Attlee, the British Prime Minister after the Second World War. So there's a lot of detail in these collections, which we don't want to lose. And we've had to really think hard how we display these in ArchivesSpace. And I'm going to come back to this in terms of our solution. So this is just one issue we've had to deal with as part of our implementation. So back in the start of 2016, we started to think about what we're going to do next, how to consolidate our data. So that started with me basically surveying every EAD catalogue we'd ever produced, which was over 3,000. And they were in a couple of different places, so on a network drive. So trying to find the master copy and which was the most up-to-date version took a while, big audit. And because we've been using EAD since 1996 in XML editors, you can pretty much guarantee that anything people wanted to do, they did do. And the lack of standardization has been an issue with us in terms of how we share our data, because we're quite keen to use our national aggregators and beyond. So that survey was to kind of work out what's in EAD1, what's finished, what's in EAD 2002, and look at some of the tagging structure that's been used in the past. So we have a graduate training digital archivist program and a newly qualified archivist, project archivist, funded by the Carnegie Corporation, and we managed to start converting some of this data. So we've had about 12 people working on this over the course of 3 years, not all at the same time, but all together. And we've also had a software developer funded by the Carnegie Corporation, Andrew Morrison, who's done some really great work on our ArchivesSpace implementation. Although it's not here, I can't praise him too much. At the same time as standardizing our data, we also published some catalogs for the first time, which we've had since the early 2000s. So we've tried to release new material out there as well. And I wrote our new archives metadata standard, which was a great joy, actually, when you see. Okay, so we've had several issues to tackle in our future metadata migration. So there are gaps in ISAG compliance, lots of missing extents from earlier catalogues and so forth. We also started this process without actually knowing what our new platform was going to be. So we looked at basically two systems. We were quite keen on the open source approach. So one was Atom and the other was obviously ArchivesSpace. ArchivesSpace handled our data really well, and because it was EAD driven, it was a natural fit for us. So in 2017, we made the choice to go with ArchivesSpace and join the community. And we started installing it in January 2018, so nearly 2 years in. So in terms of implementing, we have gone for an out-of-the-box implementation, and we've done some customization of the PUI, probably a bit more than I was expecting at first, but that's more of a case to do with our data and getting it to display how we readers are kind of both used to and some of the new functionality. And we started migrating all of our EAD catalogues, which were currently published online, and we've done that manually one by one. And I'll tell you the numbers in a minute. There's a lot of them. There were a few reasons for that, which I'll come on to. There might be some questions I can answer on that. So we've done some internal staff testing of the PUI, mainly with our reference archivists, so using real inquiries to actually see if it's answering the questions they have on a daily basis, looking at user roles and permissions. And we are going to be launching internally for staff the PUI in about 2 weeks. So it's quite an exciting time for us, and this is a well-timed forum. And we'll be doing our public launch at the end of September for the new university term. And I'm going to give you the world premiere of our new PUI right now. It's not been seen outside the library. So we're going to brand the service Archives Bodleian. And we've made some cosmetic changes, as you can see, to the homepage. And we're currently using version 2.5.1. We'll probably think about upgrades after the public launch in terms of what we want to do next. We've also implemented with one repository for all of our catalogues. And that's the plan we're going to try and keep to going forward. But we will, when we move active cataloging projects in, we'll have an in-process repository which will be private, and the publish will just hold our published data. So just coming on to some of the changes. So some of the changes we've made have been informed by user testing of Solo, our library catalogue. Things like readers we found in Oxford wanted the search facets on the left-hand side rather than the right-hand side of the screen. We've also added a language filter as well. We have several languages represented in our collections, so we wanted to add that as a facet too. We've also done some work on search functionality, and in particular we've applied a boost to collection level records. Our readers are very used to going down from a collection level orientation of finding material, so we've done some work using BQ parameter in the Solo indexing. I will say that like I know how that works. But our developer did that for us, and we want to do more work on this after the launch. We've also changed the search drop-down menu options to full text as opposed to keyword, shelf mark as our unique reference, index subjects and index names, and title of descriptions. Just to give you a quick look at the collection level work we've done. So we've done a few quick things. So we've moved the preferred citation a bit more prominently into the top level record. You'll also see we have a collection ID for staff. We're not using ArchivesSpace for accessions. We have a separate collections management database, which we use for accessions, but also helps us with our workflows, particularly around born digital, locations, etc. So we're not, that's a future discussion how we use and integrate these things. And I'm coming towards the end of my time, and there's a very quick look at the file level records. So a file in terms of Bodlein is actually a box of material, and we haven't made too many changes at this point to this. So the back of the book index, this is our solution. We had to import these using general notes, and our developer did some work around importing this. And I will take some questions later, I'll be around all day. He's made everything a link, so you can now click on the shelf mark and it will take you directly to the file level description. I can't tell you how much joy this brings to me, being able to offer this. It's not a long-term solution. We would like to have this information in the body of the catalogue, so if anyone else is grappling with this, I'm very interested in speaking with you and any ideas. And just the road ahead, we'll be doing some further public and user testing, further search functionality modifications, moving active cataloging into ArchivesSpace, so more guidance I'll need to write. We're looking at name and subject authority consolidation. We're also interested in possibly using VIAF for the future, so if anyone else is interested in that. We're about to undertake two big projects. One is barcoding all our archives and manuscripts, which is a big project. And we're going to be converting the Bodleian summary catalogue, which is everything we acquired 1602 to 1976, which is about 50,000 boxes of material being added to ArchivesSpace in the next 2 years. And we're also interested in persistent URLs, possibly using ARCs, and also looking at how we handle born digital and digitized content. Thank you very much.